It's now a time for healing.
Jimmy Carter was president during a tumultuous time in America. As commander-in-chief, he received low marks among historians.
As might be expected, the longer the line and waiting time, the angrier some motorists became.
The crisis in Iran is more urgent right now than the campaign here at home.
But his post-presidency was considered one of the most successful to date. Here's a look at the key moments from his time in the Oval Office and the years that followed. The 1970s were marked by oil price spikes due to interruptions in Middle East supply. The interruptions rippled through the U.S. economy, resulting in high inflation and stagnating growth. Carter called the energy crisis the moral equivalent of war.
The energy crisis has not yet overwhelmed us, but it will if we do not act quickly.
So Carter focused on conserving energy. He set an example by turning the heat down in the White House and installing solar panels on its roof. One of the high points of Carter's presidency came as he moved to rejuvenate the Middle East peace process. He hosted the Camp David Accords, which led to a peace deal between Israel and Egypt, with the country's leaders jointly receiving the Nobel Peace Prize.
I have already, last night, invited the other leaders of the Arab world to help sustain progress toward a comprehensive peace.
In another key and controversial moment of his presidency, President Carter announced the U.S. would boycott the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow in response to the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. It marked the first time the U.S. had skipped an Olympic Games. In response, the Soviets boycotted the Los Angeles Games in 1984. The biggest crisis of Carter's presidency came in 1979, after he allowed the Shah of Iran, an American ally, into the U.S. for medical treatment. In his absence, fundamentalists seized power. Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took Americans hostage. A rescue mission resulted in a helicopter crash that left 8 servicemen dead and no hostages rescued. A humiliating setback for the United States.
We have been disappointed before. We will not give up in our efforts.
The hostage crisis weighed heavily on his 1980 re-election campaign. Carter later blamed the fiasco for wrecking his chances of a second term. The hostages were ultimately released on January 20th, 1981, the day Carter's hawkish successor, Ronald Reagan, assumed the presidency. A week earlier, Carter bid farewell from the Oval Office.
I will lay down my official responsibilities in this office to take up once more the only title in our democracy superior to that of president, the title of citizen.
After his exit from the presidential stage, his philanthropic and civic work took shape and drew him broad admiration. In 1982, he founded the Carter Center with the mission of advocating for human rights. Carter launched public health campaigns against river blindness and the guinea worm in Africa. He supported home building through Habitat for Humanity, observed elections in dozens of countries, and worked to resolve conflicts in Haiti and elsewhere. For decades, Carter hosted a Bible study in his hometown of Plains, Georgia, shared his views through more than 24 books, which earned him 3 spoken word Grammy Awards. In 2019, Carter became the oldest living president. His wife Rosalind, a key advisor throughout his presidency, died in 2023 at 96 years old. He attended her funeral at their hometown church, where Rosalind was a deacon, and Jimmy gave regular Sunday school talks. In a statement, Carter called his wife an equal partner in everything I ever accomplished. He was driven to use his post-presidency, spanning over 4 decades, to help millions of people around the world. By 2002, Carter became the first and only president to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for work after leaving office.
God gives us a capacity for choice. We can choose to alleviate suffering. We can choose to work together for peace. We can make these changes, and we must. Thank you.